Hey everybody, welcome back. We're continuing our reading of the Tafseer. It has totally enlightened us, been extremely helpful to really expand upon our understanding of Islam. We were dealing with Surah Al-Baqarah 155 through 157, okay? And let's pick up where we left off. And before we get started, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And loss of property. This includes everything that may befall wealth and property, such as vermin, drowning, and other types of loss, or the seizing of wealth by evildoers, such as unjust rulers, bandits, and the like. So, we have to have patience and know that when things have been withdrawn from us, even by a criminal, we will be compensated for our patience, but we have to maintain sincerity and keep thanking Allah for every opportunity that comes across our way to practice sabr, right? Lives, that is, loss of loved ones such as children, relatives, and friends. It also includes various kinds of diseases that may affect the individual or one of his loved ones. Okay, so when he mentions lives, we specifically think of diseases and loss of life. And crops, that is, grains and the fruits of palm trees and other kinds of trees and plants, because of intense cold, hail, burning, plagues of locusts, and so on. I've seen footage of what it looks like when locusts eat a field. That's a lot of work. Even with fire, to get those buggers off is a lot. These things will inevitably happen, because the all-knowing, all-aware has told us of it. And it has happened as he foretold. When it happens, people respond in one of two ways, either impatience or patience. That's a good point, because when something horrible happens to you, you're impatient, you want peace to come quickly, like, make this over, make this feeling go away, quickly. It's difficult, right? And when you have a sort of patience, you can be withholding of it, right? The one who is impatient suffers two calamities. The loss of what he loves, which is the calamity that he has been stricken with, and the loss of something greater than that, which is a reward for obeying Allah's command to be patient. So we get rewarded with our patience, with our sabr. Thus he incurs loss and deprivation of reward, and whatever he has of faith decreases. So you weaken your iman. It's a weakness in faith if you are not acting gracious with your patience. He misses out on patience, acceptance, and gratitude, and he becomes resentful, which is indicative of a lack of faith. So don't let resent build whenever something tart happens to us. You accept it, you bear patience, and know that the accounting will occur. As for the one whom Allah enables to be patient when calamities occur, he controls himself and stops himself developing any resentment that could be reflected in his words or deeds. Alright, we have to remind ourselves clearly, they made it true, that we cannot just willy-nilly do what we want. We have to rein in certain passions as best as to our abilities. He seeks reward for it from Allah, and he knows that the reward he will attain for his patience is greater than the calamity that has befallen him. Okay, look at that. So our reward for our patience is going to be outweighed by the minor inconvenience, even large convenience, because if it's a large testing that's quite intense, then that means the reward will be even more beneficial. In his case, the calamity turns into a blessing because it becomes a means of attaining something better and more beneficial for him than what he lost. So he obeys the commands of Allah and earns reward. Hence Allah, glory be to him, says, "But give glad tidings to those who patiently persevere." That is, give them the glad tidings that they will be rewarded without measure. See, they're rewarded without measure is interesting because as I was reading the hadith, the Prophet, peace be upon him, says hand to hand, riba, you have to watch out for usury, the hand to hand, and you cannot sell something that hasn't already been, it's not already here, and that you need to weigh the fruits and items such as that before they're sold, because it's the part of the business transactions. So that was making me think about measurement, about weight. Here, Allah is saying, you obey our patience, you'll obey sabr, and you'll be rewarded without measure. Which is interesting because when we're suffering, we're measuring our suffering, right? We feel inflicted. we can measure the resentfulness that arises in us via our pain meters and how frazzled our minds become. So here it's a sign of hope for us that if you can reduce that, control it, rein it in, master it so it doesn't overburden you, you'll be rewarded with something greater. That's hopeful, right? Those who are patient are those who attain these great glad tidings and immense gifts. Then Allah describes them thus. Who say, when afflicted with calamity, calamity is anything that causes mental anguish or physical harm, or both, such as the things mentioned above. To Allah we belong, that is, Allah owns us and we are under His control. So, submitting, once you submit, you are demanded to do your compulsory duties that you've declared your oath for. Fulfill your promises and Allah will fulfill His promises to you. But that requires being under the control of Allah and not being a rebellious transgressor, right? We have no control over our own selves and property at all. Okay, this is interesting because we have no control over our own selves and property at all. This is clever in a way it's written is, to the fool I think someone would say, so you're saying everything's up to Allah, we don't have to do anything. No, it's that you don't get to decide what your destiny is, even though you participate in the building of it. You don't get to say what the castle is at the end, but you get to contribute to the bricks that get on the layout, on the blueprint. And the property, all bounty comes from Allah, so you have to accept that when you are tested, as it said in 155, with your loss of property, that everything gets returned to Allah and it's only granted to us for an appointed time. So don't grasp at it. Don't be overly withholding from it. Let it go. Be content when it goes. And recognize that if you bear patience through it, you'll get something better in the end than just wishing you had that and then, whinging about it. If we are tested with regard to some of it, then the most merciful has decreed something concerning His slaves and their property as He wills. So there should be no objection to Him. Rather, it is part of being a true slave of Allah, ubudiyah, to realize that the calamity has been decreed by the Sovereign, the Most Wise, who is more merciful to him than he is to himself. So, if we're going to be a true believer, submitted to the Sovereign, no matter the weight of the calamity. This gives him a sense of contentment and acceptance of Allah's decree. That helped me when I realized I had, lost my job. The lockdowns caused it. 3 car dealerships are gone. So many businesses have closed. It makes you feel sad, but that's the decree of Allah. Change is going to happen. Nothing I can do about it. Which makes him grateful to Allah for decreeing for his slave that which is good for him, even if he does not realize it. Yeah, so we don't realize things till later. A lot of things, now that I look back on it, now that I'm gaining a more Islamic understanding, I didn't realize, and certain things were a good kind of pain, and I'm glad I learned them. Some of them, it's still hard to accept that I learned them, but I recognize that I don't know everything, and the unseen is another dimension, and we must press forward. In addition to the fact that we belong to Allah, we will return to Him on the day of resurrection, and He will requite each person in accordance with his deeds. See, I like this, in accordance with his deeds, not based on what someone else did, what you did. It's not going to be based on your hair color, your skin color, other minor attributes, not based on your IQ. What did you do? There it is. What did your own hands put forth? Where did you put your focus? What was your ripple effect? So if we show patience and seek reward, we will find our reward waiting for us with Him. I like that. Our reward is waiting with Allah. Think about that. And if you've never felt like you were in the right room, lines like that can help you, right? But if we are impatient and resentful, our share will be nothing but resentment and the loss of reward. Knowing that we are slaves of Allah and will return to Him is among the greatest means of attaining patience. So, helping us attain patience by realizing that we are under the complete dominion of Allah, and what He decrees is what He decrees. The more you come to terms with that, the less shocked you'll be, right? You prepare when it arrives and hope that you can pass it, and turn to the Maker when it feels it's out of your control. And then we have to pray for guidance and make sure we're fulfilling our side of Salah and other factors in order to have our du'as and pleas heard and answered, right? That's what I've learned.